What's up guys, this is Faris and welcome back to my Geek vlog. I just realized that Batman's gonna be turning 80 this year. So for that, I'm gonna take you guys a look back to the first time I ever watched a Batman movie that's actually gonna be turning 30 this year, which is Tim Burton's Batman. As a kid born and grew up in the 90s, I got the opportunity to see a live-action version of Batman after watching the animated series for quite long. 3.5 years old, and I got to see the version of Batman on VHS from a childhood friend. And of course, I immediately got into the movie as well as its gothic world and aesthetics of Tim Burton before going to the Schumachers. I look at this film as a key to the rest of the Batman films of today and other DC properties in media. We all know a movie like this isn't perfect, and that's why we should take a look back and start talking about the cast and characters. The casting in this movie are pretty decent picks for the role. I'm gonna start up with the cast who played the main lead that met with controversy, Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne/Batman. This is one of the casting that resulted backlash towards comic fans back in the day, even way before the internet existed. There were 50,000 protest letters sent to Warner Brothers. Hell, even Batman creator Bob Kane questioned Tim Burton about the casting as well as the people who were involved in the film, like executive producer Michael Uslan and screenwriter Sam Hamm, no really, that's his name, questioned the damn casting. But Tim Burton chose to ignore the fan letters and decided to go ahead on what he wanted to do with the character and his vision of the film. Before Michael Keaton was casted, there were lots of actors who were considered for the role, including Kurt Russell, Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, William Hurt, Bruce Willis, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and even Alec Baldwin. He could have been great. But Tim Burton chose Keaton because of their work on Beetlejuice, and he was eager to put Keaton in the role, and the result is, he freaking owns the role. Michael Keaton nails both aspects of Bruce Wayne and Batman. Looking back at his performance, it's really good seeing how he could get into character. He's cool, likable, and intimidating, even when he's smiling in a cowl. Although his Batman seems kinda mysterious. He appears like 3.5 minutes into the movie as the vigilante in Gotham, and then the film moves over to him as Bruce Wayne, being the quiet rich dude. We don't see a lot about him in his past, like that flashback scene in the third act, or even being the typical rich playboy billionaire. He barely shows his motivation throughout the movie except that moment with Vicky Vale at the Batcave.
Look, sometimes I don't know what to think about this. It's just something I have to do.
Why?
Because nobody else can. This is how it is. It's not a perfect world.
It doesn't have to be a perfect world.
Weak. So I guess the Batman in this movie hasn't been established that much as a character. And again, he seems mysterious because he works in the shadows and doesn't reveal much about his motivation except beating the shit out of criminals. So I guess his opposite has more screen time and story than he does. Jack Nicholson as himself, I mean Jack Napier, aka the Joker. This interpretation of Joker is quite close to the comics. The Joker in this movie took more of a gangster approach, kinda similar to the Joker from the Killing Joke story, with a few updates. When it comes to pre-Joker, he established himself as a gang member we can all hate before becoming the Joker. He was the one who murdered Thomas and Martha Wayne, unlike the comics where he was a failed comedian turned failed gang member, which was the original Red Hood, and then becoming the Joker. I honestly don't mind the change as long as it fits to the story, so I'd give credit for what Burton did with the Joker. Hell, Burton was the one who made the Joker kill Thomas and Martha Wayne, so don't put the blame on the screenwriters. All of this comes from Tim Burton himself. Jack Nicholson does a great job capturing the character's personality. He had plenty of improvisation and it really pays off as both Jack Napier and Joker. As the Joker, he does kind of get creepy at most times. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It is what it is at its own time, as long as he could improvise the character. And that's why Jack Nicholson is the man. We also got other character appearances like Kim Basinger as photographer/damsel in distress Vicky Vale, who had an underdeveloped romance with Bruce Wayne, which probably ends her leaving him. Robert Wuhl as Vicky's work partner and reporter Alexander Knox. Then an appearance of Commissioner Gordon, minus the glasses, played by the late Pat Hingle, Lando Calrissian himself, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, Michael Goth as Alfred, and nobody forget about Bob the Goon, played by Tracy Walter. Oh, I guess he's been shot, but he's not forgotten. Good character performances won't be good enough to tell a great story, so let's move on to the plot and story of this film. The plot of this film centers around crime in Gotham, with the involvement of Jack Napier and his boss being targeted by Gotham Police Commissioner Gordon and District Attorney Harvey Dent. Beside the police and DA stopping crime, another one is involved outside the law, a vigilante known as the Batman, who is also involved in stopping crime on his own terms. End result creates an enemy of his own when he let Napier falls into a vat of excess chemicals, which he eventually becomes the Joker. His plan is to take over the boss who framed him, then terrorizes Gotham with his hygiene products mixed with deadly chemicals that causes people of Gotham die laughing, becomes a narcissistic supervillain, and also
my face on the $1 bill.
Purely weird kind of plan, but whatever, it's Tim Burton's thing. This is how he does. If you guys are familiar with the plot of this film, that's because this movie is basically a loose adaptation of The Killing Joke. This movie is more of a Joker origin than a Batman movie. Kinda weird when the movie's title is about the main hero, but it actually tells more about the main villain. In the original script by Sam Hamm, the movie was about both Batman and the Joker, which would have been interesting, but then again, Tim Burton wants to center the story about crime and the Joker, and makes Batman's role a vigilante outside the law. The movie also took inspiration from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman in this movie likes to ditch beating up criminals and opts for straight up murder. I'll be honest with one thing. I don't care if Batman kills or not. It all depends on what version of Batman is adapted into the movie. Michael Keaton was given the Dark Knight Returns materials to study the character. That's what his version of Batman was based off. There was also a homage to Bob Kane's one, which the first version of Batman of course kills people and uses a freaking gun. But thankfully didn't use one in the movie. Most people want to see a definitive Batman which Bill Finger co-wrote and reinvented plenty of times that doesn't kill criminals. Guys, you gotta keep in mind that directors bring something different to the table, as long it has a comic book inspiration. So this is what Tim Burton did. Blame all you want, but hey, this is what we got back in the late 80s. Looking back at the plot of this film, I wish there was a balanced character development of the main hero and main villain that gave both characters a parallel arc. But in the end, Batman's character is kinda mysterious and left the spotlight to the main villain. Hell, even in the opening credits, Jack Nicholson's name came out first cause he gets the top billing cause he freaking sells tickets, and then Michael Keaton gets the second. Makes sense, but what the hell? If there's anything about making a movie about a beloved superhero and its origin story being removed and leave to the spotlight to the main villain, that could be a studio interference thing.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Which reminds me, let's move on to the action. The action scenes in this movie are traditionally decent, very late 80s action, and they do have plenty of good and memorable moments. Looking back at it, it doesn't really look that spectacular these days. Let's face it, action scenes in comic book movies back in the day didn't have that incredible stunt and awesome choreographed fighting like today. I like that one action scene where Batman takes down one henchman with 2 swords and proves that he's Batman. But out of all the action scenes that is trying too hard to look cool, the best action scenes that I like from this movie is the goddamn Batmobile. I mean, come on, every action scene that this movie has to offer, the Batmobile really steals the show when it comes to action. Not to mention it has that awesome classic gothic kind of look and pretty awesome gadgets in it. Also, let's not forget about the Batwing, cause that scene definitely has its cool moments when it caught the Joker's gas balloon and released its firepower. It was an awesome scene to watch.
Shit, that's so messed up.
Maybe pathetically awesome? Yeah, this movie may age well in story, but when it comes to action, it didn't really age well that much. So, let's just end this. So that was Tim Burton's Batman. In my opinion, it is a decent representation of the Batman character. It's not that good and it's certainly not that bad. It's above average for sure. Without this movie, there won't be a DCAU along with Kevin Conroy as Batman, or the Dark Knight trilogy by Chris Nolan, or the DCEU with Batfleck. And let's not forget that this movie wouldn't exist without the iconic Batman theme by Danny Elfman. Like I said before, this film is a key inspiration for the writers of today to redefine Batman in comics and other vast of media. Even if I say that this movie is above average, I still have certain amount of respect to Tim Burton. You especially don't want to mess with people who grew up watching this movie when it came out back in the day. In the end, this was and still is the Batman movie that redefined the character for what's to come in the future for new writers, show creators, artists, and filmmakers. So, since Tim Burton's Batman is 30 years old, do you think it's still good, is it bad, or is it average? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. So guys, thank you for watching, be sure to subscribe to check out more videos like this and others. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media for more updates. I also have a Patreon which you guys can support. And last but not least, I like to give a thanks and shout out to the people who request this topic at DC Entertainment Amino page. If you guys like Batman and DC Comics, what are you waiting for? Register yourself at Amino and come on, let's get nuts!